What's up, guys? Here with you, FC Wonderkid, episode 153, here with my guy, Preston. How are you?
Considering you and I are, 6,000 plus miles away right now, I am in California, even though it might not look like it based on the wonderful mood lighting, the lack of a pool or ocean in the background, but I
Mm-hmm.
am 8 hours difference between you and I right now, and we were still able to consume football, what were crazy results, and
Mm-hmm.
talk about it nonstop this past week, man. What an amazing week of football, and yeah, I gotta apologize in advance for the crazy setup here, but hopefully, hey, doesn't keep us from talking football, right?
For sure, Bretson. And yes, we're miles apart, but the football all unites us worldwide. And that's the beauty of this game. And united for football is the
Mm.
fact that the Premier League is not dominating right now. We have La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, leagues that can be considered less competitive, showing that it's not the case. And I gotta say, number of league winners, okay, this decade from
Mm-hmm.
2020 onwards, in the different leagues, we have Serie A has had three different league winners. We've had La Liga with three different league winners, Liga with two different league winners, Bundesliga with two league winners, and the Premier League with how many league winners this decade? Only one, which is Man City. So we
Right.
can say the most competitive league in the world doesn't look too competitive with Pep Guardiola now dominating with this team. So, Breton, is
Wow.
Man
Yeah.
City gonna win the Premier League when they're knocked out in the Champions League?
Oh, well, everyone's got their own issues, but yeah, it seems like it's trending in that direction. And we'd be talking a completely different story if Liverpool
Mm.
did not have those shock losses, if Arsenal did not have that shock loss. I mean, it was unexpected. But Manchester City getting knocked out in the fashion that they got knocked out, where
Mm-hmm.
Real Madrid bunkered in, played 120 minutes of wonderful defense, and beat them on penalties. That is going to piss Manchester City off. So, yeah, I'm
Mm.
very comfortable saying Manchester City are not just favorites; they're overwhelming favorites to win this thing. Which I think you and I were comfortable saying from
Mm-hmm.
the get go, even before this loss.
Yep.
But this is just going to spur them on even more, and they're going to do it, frankly, without Erling Haaland, I guess.
True.
I mean, I guess that's the thing these days. But yeah, you
Mm.
show me. You show me. You mentioned it, Alex. Like you show me. Um, us talking about the Premier League being the most marketable team, most marketable league, the most money, the
Mm-hmm.
all the players want to go there, and I'll show you a tweet where there is somebody on Twitter on X calling all these other leagues, the Bundesliga, La Liga, all of them farmers leagues, right? And we know that that's not the case anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the wonderful thing about the Champions League. It's the wonderful thing about football. Yeah, not always the best team wins, but that's why
Mm-hmm.
you play these tournaments, right?
It's true.
That's why you play these tournaments. So to see, PSG, to see Borussia Dortmund make their
Mm-hmm.
first semifinal in 11 years, I think that that's refreshing,
True.
frankly. I think the travesty was probably Real Madrid and Manchester City meeting in the quarterfinals in the first place. But what
No.
can you do about that? But
It,
anyway, off on a
it's
tangent already, man. City are favorites. I can't imagine you disagree.
I do not disagree, and I think it's
Okay.
confirmed. Man City will
Yeah.
be the first team ever in the history of the Premier League to win 4 Premier League titles in a row. And guess what? Ruben Dias has won the Premier League every season he's been with Man City. And that's the leader at the back. Pep Guardiola, Kevin De Bruyne, and Erling Haaland, I
Yeah.
think is going to go bold in these last 6 games in the Premier League. He's not having the best season compared to the last one,
No.
but he's still the player with the most goals, most chance created. It's not most chance created, I'm sorry, most expected goals, and two first on shots target, Erling Haaland this season. So 20 league
But
goals right now. I believe Erling Haaland will finish the league with more than 25. With more than 25.
yeah.
And Cole
But you
Palmer,
got
second
oh my god.
in
Yeah.
most goals scored.
Cole Palmer.
That's bold, mate,
Uh,
when you have an Ollie Watkins in the conversation. But Another
Well,
fact that confirms what we're saying about the Premier League. It's the first time since 2014 and 15 that we have no English teams in the semi-finals of the Europa League and the Champions League. And big credit to Emi Martinez and Aston Villa for being in the semi-final of the European Conference League. They could win it, and I'm going to put my chips on Unai Emery because he knows how to win European competitions. So I want to give credit to them because Aston Villa is competing for top 4 too. So
absolutely, they're going to come up against a really, really tough Olympiacos side right now that has a goalkeeper that has been massive for them. 21-year-old goalkeeper Konstantinos Solakis, but Aston Villa, it has been anything but easy for them to get there.
True.
So it's really crazy that once there were 8. And now there is just 1, and it's in the Europa Conference League. And I think if you asked me to put money on that at the beginning of the season, obviously those odds would be so long, far-fetched. It's crazy how that panned out in one fell swoop, right? The top 3 of the Premier League was wiped out in European competition, all in the quarterfinals. And that is just crazy. And that carnage, Alex.
Bayern played better.
You're right.
Real played better, and Atalanta played better. All 3.
I agree.
They were outplayed.
I agree. And unfortunately for those American supporters here, those people that are listening to us that cannot wait, as I cannot wait, for the Club World Cup, the newfangled 32-team Club World Cup, to be held for the first time in the U.S. next summer.
Beautiful.
We're going to be missing out on quite a few of these teams that went out in the quarterfinals. Arsenal will not be in it. Barcelona will not be at the Club World Cup next summer.
But guess what, Breton? Porto will be in it.
Yes.
Porto will be in it. So Arsenal fans see what's football heritage right there. Football heritage. And I love how you're mentioning Arsenal right there, Breton. Because, look, Arsenal barely beat Porto. Arsenal lost to one of the worst teams of Bayern Munich this decade. And Arsenal clearly got a reality check in terms of football heritage in European competitions. They need a goal scorer and they need more experience. Bukayo Saka, Bukayo Saka. Arsenal fans are putting unrealistic expectations to Bukayo Saka. He's not better than Rodrigo Goes. He's not better than Vinicius Jr. He's certainly not better than Mo Salah. He has got a long way to go to be better than Mo Salah, a Champions League winner and a Premier League winner. So, Arsenal fans, help Bukayo Saka putting realistic expectations to your star boy. It makes no sense what I see sometimes in the internet with Bukayo Saka.
Yeah. But to play devil's advocate there, I don't think it was too unrealistic of an expectation for them to want him to play better across both legs against Bayern Munich.
Oh, yes.
This is a Bayern Munich that obviously has pedigree. It's a Bayern Munich that clearly had experience. It's a Bayern Munich that is led by somebody that has done this previously, taking a Chelsea team that we all then deemed, not even a year later, unworthy to win the Champions League.
With Rudiger.
With Rudiger. Exactly. Yeah. But in the end, it is a team that you could tell which team had been there before, right? You could tell which team over those 2 legs had been there before, and there was muscle memory involved, and Bukayo Saka will remember this. And I still believe, I know it feels like it's been a long time with the Mikel Arteta, progress, the steps taken, all that good stuff. I actually am in agreement that, the expectations more so that Arsenal would just go automatically to the semifinals, to the finals.
It's unrealistic.
That expectation should not necessarily outweigh the expectation for them to have played better against Bayern, and they did not. I don't think they played the Arsenal way against Bayern at all. And I think Arteta was naive with it. I think a lot of their star players were naive. So to put that on Saka, you're right. Only Saka is unfair. I'd also put it on the defense. I'd put it all across the board. So they'll be back. I have a feeling this team is still growing. I don't think progress has been stunted. I think this is just another step in the right direction. I believe other managers have had very similar situations where it's an incremental step up. Hell, Pep just recently won his first Champions League title with Manchester City.
But
right?
he won the league previously. 6 times out of
I
7
know.
years. But I understand where
I
you're
know.
coming from because the team that Pep Guardiola started with Man City was very different of the team that Arsenal started with Arteta.
Exactly.
So, and
They had
I
one
do
previously.
agree. And I love the statement that Arteta said in the press conference today that it was Arsenal were out of the UCL 7 years. And now this season is our second season competing for the league. And I certainly believe Arsenal this season are in phase 4 of Mikel Arteta. Phase 5 happens with a goal scorer coming that can score 30 to 40 goals per season. They don't have that right now. A new CDM to be more reliable than Thomas Partey, and an elite left back. Left back needs to come because Zinchenko, he's a good squad player, but you need a left back that gives guarantees. And at the right, Ben White being that right back was an elite job done by Arteta. That it's modern football now to adapt a center back to play in an inverted way. And I wanted to ask you this. I say Arsenal need a goal scorer. It's more than obvious. Arteta said it after the game. And there's 3 players that are being massively talked, Breton. Gyökeres, Benjamin Sesko, and Santiago Giménez, Breton. How would you rank these 3 players? Benjamin Sesko, Gyökeres, and Santiago Giménez. Who would you sign if you were Arsenal?
Wow. Well, I know which way Pedro would go.
Gyökeres?
But to be honest, for me, I think Gyökeres does fit the profile of what they need.
So you and
100%.
Pedro
I think
agree.
Sesko, I do. I am going to agree with him here. And I don't think it's by a mile over Benjamin Sesko. I think Santiago Giménez would be last for me. I think Benjamin Sesko, who's had a phenomenal last 2 months. I think the majority of his goals. I think he has 14 goals this season and only like 19 starts for RB Leipzig. So, I mean, he's 20 years old. He's going to build on that profile with Slovenia at the Euros this summer. I think by the end of this summer, we could literally be saying Sesko on the top. And that's the only difference here. There's a difference of 5 years between Gyökeres and Sesko for me. But I think Gyökeres gives everything that Arsenal needs in terms of the link up, in terms of, he can still stretch defenses. He's not exactly slow. And he's a hell of a finisher. So I think Gyökeres is the primary target out of those 3, with Sesko a very close second.
100 million to get Gyökeres, a player with 36 goals and 16 assists this season. Bold numbers. And I would rank Gyökeres ahead of Benjamin Sesko and Santiago Giménez. 1 Gyökeres, 2 Sesko, and 3 Santiago Giménez. But Sesko has the potential to be a top 5 striker in the world of football. Great player. I saw him against Portugal. It was our only loss with Roberto Martinez. It was a team with Sesko at the front. So I wanted to give that shout out to him because he's just an extraordinary player. And my last thing about Arsenal is like how tragic, I gotta say it, how tragic it is for Arsenal fans that the man of the match in the Champions League second leg against you guys is a Tottenham player that was just transferred this season, Eric Dyer. And then you have Harry Kane that's scoring goals too against Arsenal. And then you have Xhaka being the champion in the opposing team against Bayern Munich. Arsenal fans, it hasn't been the best week for former players. I just wanted to say that because former players with Tottenham. I just found it funny, the whole situation.
Well, you could say the same thing about former Manchester United players with Dortmund, except obviously Manchester United was already out. But
no, it's true.
I think that's part.
With the Premier League.
Yeah,
we got Eric Ten Hag that is being judged because how doesn't Eric Ten Hag play Jadon Sancho when he plays like that for Dortmund? And how doesn't Pochettino play Ian Maatsen when he plays like that for Dortmund too? 2 loan deals. The Dortmund is exposing these managers in my point of view. And Ian Maatsen, no joke, would be the best left back at Chelsea in my view. And I think Sancho would be the best right winger at Man United in my view with Garnacho at left wing.
But you know what? If they weren't sent out on loan, they wouldn't have even been able to. I think there's a degree of comeuppance here, right? There's a degree of Jadon Sancho wanting to prove somebody wrong. And he wouldn't necessarily have that chip on his shoulder if he was still at United. So you could also argue that it only fueled Jadon Sancho to be sent to Dortmund, back to Dortmund, a place where he obviously has excelled before. But yeah, it is interesting, and the whole I have to give credit to Borussia Dortmund. I have to give credit to Aiden Terzic, but mostly I give credit to the veteran core of that team that certainly is also the ceiling on how good Borussia Dortmund can be. I mean, there is no doubt, as good as they have played to get here, there is no doubt that they are the weakest of the four sides remaining, right? And a lot of that is the DNA that we've all grown to expect from Borussia Dortmund, the exciting football. It's not really there anymore, right? Not there at all. It is. It's different. And the funny thing is we're latching on to the guys that remain 23, 22 years old, the Jadon Sanchos and the Ian Maatsen, who scored that was an awesome goal. That was just a great goal in the quarterfinal there. But it is something that you got to watch in the future because it's crazy to think, Alex, Dortmund is where in the Bundesliga table?
Not doing too good.
You know?
Not top four.
No, but Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich are the reasons why Germany and Italy will have the extra spots in the Champions League next year. And the Premier League, very likely, Spurs, you mentioned how it was former Arsenal players, former Spurs players. It's Spurs that is actually going to lose out, very likely, on that extra Champions League spot. So I think there's remaining a 1.1% chance that England could get that extra spot in the Champions League next season, but it all is contingent upon Aston Villa not only winning the Conference League, there's like 6 other teams that have to lose for that to happen. So you're saying there's a chance, but there's a 99% chance that it's not going to happen. So Germany, good on you. I mean, those teams just know how to get it done, just like La Liga teams when it comes to these big European competitions.
And the last final in Wembley did have 2 teams that were German. Der Klassiker. And we had a manager that we all know that is now a Borussia Dortmund legend and a Liverpool legend with Jurgen Klopp. And with Man City, I just wanted to say my last thing on Man City with the Premier League. I legitimately believe Man City are going to win 6 out of 6 games in the league, okay? I see the fixtures, and I see them. The toughest games for me is Tottenham away, Fulham away, and West Ham at home. And considering the situation that Man City is right now, with the world all saying, are they going to make history and win 4 in a row? I totally believe that will be the case. I think Haaland is going to go bold. Kevin De Bruyne, Rodri, you got too many world-class players that want to make a statement towards showing that they're going to win the league. But conversation is that Pep Guardiola could be leaving in 2025. It's a bold take. There's a lot of speculation towards who could replace him. I think I'll be mentioning this topic a little bit forward because people are saying that Xabi might be going, but I'm not. It's just a hint. It's just a hint. But Liverpool. That's confirmed that Liverpool will be having a new manager. And it's quite bold. The list of teams that will have a new manager this season. It's Barcelona, it's Bayern Munich, it's AC Milan, it's Liverpool. And I think Juventus are going to let go of Allegri and get Thiago Motta. So look at the amount of teams that are going to be changing manager. It's going to be a big summer. Pioli is out, okay? So who's going to replace him with this core with Gasperini. Gasperini, that would be a good one. But with Liverpool, I wanted to ask you, Breton, who would be the best fit for Liverpool to replace Jurgen Klopp with? De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, Ruben Amorim, and Thiago Motta. Who would you choose to replace Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool between these 4?
Oh man. My gut says De Zerbi just because he's been in the league, right? But obviously out of those four, Ruben Amorim does rise to the top for me. Thomas Frank Ball at Anfield does not make me excited at all. But Thomas Frank has done wonderful for Brentford. I just don't know if he's the next step up. or got that next step up in him. I didn't even know. Was he even considered?
Yeah,
That's a really interesting.
I see some speculation surrounding now
Wow.
Thomas Frank,
Wow.
and it's bold. Like to pick the new Liverpool manager between a De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, Ruben Amorim, and a Thiago Motta. 100% Portuguese bias. People are gonna say, but it's Ruben Amorim, a real disruptor. Xabi Alonso is obviously more of a disruptor in one season, but Ruben. He can win 2 league titles now this season in 19 years for Sporting, which is quite bold. Like, and if you see the influence of Ruben Amorim in the Portuguese national team with players, it's Gonçalo Inácio, it's Nuno Mendes, it's João Palhinha, it's Mateus Nunes, it's Potts that can be called up, it's Francisco Trincão that can be called up. And this is a manager that is 39 years old, and he's having such a big effect with our national team. This is one of the greatest managers that can be in the Portuguese list in the next 10 to 20 years, if it goes right. If it goes right. So I just wanted to mention that because I saw a statement that Liverpool, Michael Edwards, and Richard Hughes said by David, or according to David Ornstein, that they are prepared to be brave over popular. So if they're going to be brave, Ruben Amorim is certainly the decision, because everybody knows De Zerbi, Thomas Frank, other managers, but not a lot of people know of the greatest of Ruben Amorim that is coming. So you said
Thiago.
Ruben.
I did. I mean, Thiago Motta. I see getting the step up in Serie A first. Especially now that we're looking at maybe Barcelona going internal. That's what I've been hearing, right? You've been hearing that, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, if if AC Milan opens up, Thiago Motta, you've got a easy step up, and a step out of your comfort zone there. So that's why Motta going to the Premier League. Nah, that's not going to happen. But it is really, really interesting. I think De Zerbi is the safer pick. But I do think you're right. I think there's a degree of the Premier League having kind of figured out De Zerbi some, or knowing, I guess, sort of what to expect from him, whereas Amorim is the out of the comfort zone type of pick. I'm intrigued, man.
It's
transfer window for the managers is going to be insane.
Definitely
insane this summer.
Definitely going to be intriguing. And if we're talking about intriguing, let us know Premier League comments and things that you want us to talk about the Premier League. Best 11 of the Premier League this season. Best players, best under 23. All these topics we're planning. So let us know, what would you like to see, community. Well, yes, Brenton?
Yeah, well, one thing we didn't get to talk about, and we're filming this before the FA Cup, unfortunately, but you mentioned Cole Palmer, and I know that this was earlier this week, but I think it is so understated how much what he's doing currently. I mean, you can throw 9 penalties out there all you want, but the guy's converted pretty much all of them. He's got 11 goals beyond that, at 20 goals for this kid. It's one of those. It's just one of those flat. Whether or not it's a flash in the pan, I don't know. But he is matching Erling Haaland, who broke the goal scoring record last season. He is matching Erling Haaland in the Golden Boot race, and he's putting himself up there for potential Player of the Year, along with Ollie Watkins in the Premier League, and obviously Erling Haaland. Absolutely ridiculous that this kid is doing what he is doing, and there is no way he would have been able to do it if Pep Guardiola did not say, hey, you want to get out of here? Let's go. It's not going to be on loan, so it's either permanent or you stay. And it's one of those instances where sometimes you have to let somebody go in order for them to realize their potential. And it's so cool to see. I just wonder if Chelsea is good enough and smart enough to build around him properly moving forward.
It was Joe Shields that when he comes in, he manages to convince Cole Palmer to change project. And it's totally right, you saying with Cole Palmer, because Cole Palmer leaves Man City as a boy, but he arrives now at Chelsea as a man. You clearly can see the impact. He's the best player in the team. He's got 25 goals and 13 assists. It's undoubtedly the right decision to go to Chelsea. And he's going to be 100% selected for the English national team. And now it's Phil Foden or Cole Palmer in the middle. I pick Cole Palmer ahead of James Maddison in this instance. And that is a bold take. That is a bold take.
That is
in
a
my
bold
view.
take.
Mentality,
Even
maturity,
bolder.
That's what he has.
Even bolder mentioning that he is the best player in a team that consists of $200 million midfielders. $200 million midfielders in Moises Caicedo, in Enzo Fernandez. And it just goes to show you that some people just level up when given the opportunity, and that's exactly what Cole Palmer did. There's got to be a twinge of Pep Guardiola at night that says, I could have used this, in some capacity, but there was no way he was ever going to be able to give him that level up in leadership and confidence. In it, honestly, it's kind of like the Barca boys coming through, right? Pau Cubarsí and Lamine Yamal stepping up when Barcelona has adversity internally within the club. It's kind of like Chelsea's going through a period of adversity where they're spending money, throwing money at the wall, and literally hoping something sticks. And in the end, that pressure has created the diamond that is Cole Palmer.
Yep.
I'm really interested to see if this is, a one-season thing or if Cole Palmer is the new guy. But yeah, it's crazy to see.
Guardiola stated that Cole Palmer has been asking to leave Man City 2 seasons in a row. And Guardiola said he's a super potential. And I haven't seen Guardiola speak too highly about players that are like Wonderkids. Only I've seen like Phil Foden in the past, and now I'm seeing about Cole Palmer. So when he talks about these players in that way, that means they are special. And if we're mentioning special, special is the Ballon d'Or, right, Breton? Because the Ballon d'Or race right now is open. Very open, with Messi being in the States, Cristiano Ronaldo being in Saudi Arabia. We're going to have a new era with stars that are born right now. And the current odds on favorite for the Ballon d'Or, 10th is currently Salah. 9th is currently Vinicius Jr. 8th, Kevin De Bruyne. 7th, we see Phil Foden ahead of De Bruyne, which can be bold for some people. 6th, who is it? The best player in the MLS, Lionel Messi. 5th, Rodri. 4th, Erling Haaland. 3rd, Harry Kane, that is still in the Champions League. 2nd, Kylian Mbappé. And 1st, the favorite to win the Ballon d'Or for the bookies right now, Jude Bellingham. Do you think Jude Bellingham is going to win the Ballon d'Or, Breton?
Do I think Jude Bellingham is going to win the Ballon d'Or? Oh, gosh.
You want me to answer?
He's definitely I think Kylian Mbappé is going to.
Kylian Mbappé is going to win the Ballon d'Or. So why are you saying that? Is he going to win the Champions League?
I don't know. I really don't know, Alex. So yeah, you tell me what you think right now, because I am so Jude Bellingham obviously is not as hot as he started the season as, but he is still obviously an integral part of Real Madrid. It comes down to how England and France do in the Euros. It really does for me. I think even if Jude Bellingham wins the Champions League, none of that matters. None of it matters. It all comes down to the Euros and who goes as far as possible in the Euros, England or France.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, Breton. I think it will hold
really?
a lot. A key factor for me will be the Champions League. And I'm going to say this. So I think if Real Madrid win La Liga, which I certainly believe they will, and the Champions League, I think Jude Bellingham will become the second youngest player ever to win the Ballon d'Or. And I know it's very hard for me to believe England is not going to go at least to the semifinals. And if that's not the case, well, you got to sack Southgate, because you have now Cole Palmer, Saka, Foden, Kane, Bellingham, Rice, world class. So the list of names is absolutely crazy. And what I was surprised, and I want to say to our listeners, sorry, because Tchouaméni was suspended. And we did do the predictions talking about big time about Tchouaméni. But now that Tchouaméni's back, woohoo! Okay, people, you gotta be scared. And yes, I think Jude Bellingham wins the Ballon d'Or a lot because of the team component and the difference that he made for Real Madrid from one season to the other. If you see the game of Man City against Real Madrid, Yes, they didn't have possession, but it was controlled defense. Real Madrid had a masterclass against Man City in terms of defense. They showed to the world that they're the best team in the world off ball. Why? Because of Ancelotti and the belief. There's a belief in all these players that the right thing is going to happen because of the responsibility that they hold, being Galacticos. And that's the greatness of Ancelotti. The manager that has knocked out Guardiola the most times in his career. 3 times in the Champions League. Carlo Ancelotti. And another bold statement, it's Lunin, okay? We're talking Ballon d'Or here. But in order for Jude Bellingham to win the Ballon d'Or, Jude Bellingham needed the best backup goalkeeper in the world. It's not Kelleher. It's not Ortega. It's Lunin. That in the penalties, the confidence that he showed with that middle prediction with Bernard Silva, you don't see a lot of people doing that. Lunin deserves the trust to start every game until the final of the Champions League. He's got what it takes. He's got what it takes.
Yeah. So that was what? That was Bernardo Silva getting counsel, right, from former teammates. Or I'm sorry, Andre Lunin getting counsel on Bernardo Silva, just like he
Kovacic.
on Kovacic, but also on Bernardo Silva.
From who?
And Kepa. From Kepa.
I didn't see that.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely you can see them talking beforehand. It's pretty awesome. So it was 2 instances of former teammates basically saying, "Hey, this is what happened, and if it happens again, yeah." But him standing still, you saw like there was not even a flinch in one direction. Lunin was always sticking at the middle in that one. But yeah, come on, what a phenomenal story there. Right? Not even the backup keeper. He's the 3rd keeper heading into the season. And again, opportunity, adversity. This is why you play the games. And he comes through big with those saves. So it's a great story. But I know we're off the Ballon d'Or talk. And Jude Bellingham, it still comes down to the Euros for me. It really does still come down to the Euros because, or I guess even Copa America. I mean, are we going to just throw the baby out with the bathwater here and say Vinicius can't rise up scoring, 8 goals in the if he wins the Champions League and then Brazil wins the Copa America in the United States?
I really believe the Ballon d'Or winner, or it's going to be Jude Bellingham, or it's going to be
Kylian
Mbappé. I really believe that's going to be my conviction. And I think the final is going to be Kylian Mbappé versus Jude Bellingham too. And I think we're going to witness greatness in Wembley.
Future teammates.
That like Cristiano won in Paris. Bale won in Wales, in Cardiff. And now Bellingham, you can win in London. It can happen.
Yeah.
And what a way. We talk Bellingham, we talk Champions League, but I want to focus on the collective because the collective is what makes Real Madrid special compared to a team like Barcelona. And I think the collective is not as strong currently right now. And this collective of Real Madrid, we're going to have it's the 4th season that the main captain of Real Madrid, it's the 4th season that the first captain of Real Madrid is going to leave. In 2021, Sergio Ramos left. 2022, Marcelo left. 2023, Karim Benzema left. And now it's been announced Nacho will leave at the end of this season in 2024. A legacy has left at the club. 23 years. He's played left back. He's played center back. He's played right back. And number 6 that will be forever iconic. And if he wins La Liga and the Champions League, he will be the most decorated player ever in Real Madrid history. That I believe will be the case. And this is a bold prediction because if we're talking Nacho, he's going to leave. We're going to say the successor. The next number 6 of Real Madrid, I have no doubt that it's going to be Eduardo Camavinga. Okay, 135 games now for Real Madrid. He's been key playing in fullback too, just like Nacho Fernandez, had to be adaptable. And Tchouameni's number 8, Camavinga number 6. Like the icon that he's becoming at such a young age, he deserves the credit. 21 years old, and he's a Galactico and a French national team player that will not leave anymore. But I wanted to give this special credit to Nacho and to Carvajal because Jeremy Doku substitutes Jack Grealish. Doku, that big boy, he was in that Champions League game, but Carvajal showed that he's one of the best right backs ever in Real Madrid history for what he's done with the experience that he's shown. To control Doku the way he did. And then Lucas Vazquez comes, a player that is moments type player. And he does this masterclass to defend Doku. Like, Carvajal is definition of the art of defending. The art of defending.
Well, and one of the only, if I'm not mistaken, one of the only La Fabrica actual products, correct?
True.
That's in the 11.
It's true. It's
true.
Yeah,
where they went, they sent him away and they brought him back. And that's kind of the Real Madrid way, right?
Send
him away. If they do well, you bring him back.
Leverkusen.
Send him away. Oh yeah. Well, yes. It's so
beautiful.
So interesting to me. But the whole Nacho thing, like him stepping away, he will get more plaudits. He will get more respect for what he did in a Real Madrid shirt as he exits, and he exits potentially very gracefully with another shot at this UCL title. Exactly. But certainly his time while playing for Real Madrid was never met with the exact same respect. Would you say that?
I agree. I think a lot of people
because he was never a Galactico. Yeah, exactly.
He's that type of player. He's the squad player, Nacho. He puts the collective over the individual. And Nacho, Lucas Vazquez, Carvajal, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, these are the players that maintain that mentality for Carlo Ancelotti. And if you're going to win Champions League, you need people with the right mindset. And these players, the calmness that Real Madrid had playing off ball with Man City, the only shot was like in the 12th minute. And they said, look, we're controlling the game. We know what we're doing. And we have the game plan to win against Man City. And I got to respect that. Real Madrid, in the last 14 years, they've been in the semifinals of the Champions League for 12 years. And that happens because Florentino Perez at the top does elite decision-making. And if I think when Ancelotti leaves, Xabi Alonso is going to replace him. And this summer, it's going to be another masterclass with Lenny Yoro coming, with Hendrik coming, with Kylian Mbappé coming, and Alphonso Davies is rumoredly going to come too. So that's what makes Real Madrid a consistent winner. Because they have the best teams in the world and developed too the way that they do things. But it's Ballon d'Or. Yeah, sorry.
And they've made it, but they've made it to the semifinals. They made it to the finals, or they've won their finals in the Champions League by also adapting, not necessarily playing the same tactic the whole way through with just minor tweaks. I mean, they won this purely via defense.
True.
Right? And defense even without Aurelien and without Aurelien Tchouameni on the pitch, as you and I found out a little after the fact. But listen, that in and of itself, I mean, tells you it's a mentality thing, right? And a flexibility thing, because it just feels like Manchester City got away from being direct. Too direct? I mean, I don't know. Erling Haaland ghosted again in a game that we did not necessarily expect him to. And I'd say it's crazy to say that a man that has scored as many goals that he has over the last 2 seasons, that it seems relatively simple to get him outside of himself in games that really matter. And Real Madrid, that's credit to them. That's credit to Rudiger giving him nipple twists or whatever it was in the middle of the match, just getting inside his head. It's a wonderful. The game is so much more, obviously, than playing whatever anyone deems the right way. And Real Madrid figured that out and has figured that out, and that's why they're one of the most successful over the last 20 years in the competition.
Completely. So. And you mentioned Haaland being nullified. Haaland is nullified because of Rudiger. Rudiger is one of the best signings, I think, in the past 20 years in football. He's for free has gone to Real Madrid, a former Champions League winner at Chelsea, and now at Real Madrid, he's going to be a legend in my point of view. The way he's doing things, it's completely unbelievable. And he's going to be key for Germany in the Euros. Toni Kroos, Rudiger, Florian Wirtz, Jamal Musiala, these are the names that are going to make a difference in Euro 2024 for this German team. But yes, we mentioned Jude Bellingham. Mbappé is that contender. He's that guy. And Mbappé didn't have the best of games, but yet he scored 2 goals against Barcelona. And Kylian Mbappé in this Champions League campaign, he's the player with most goals scored, he's the player with most chances created, and he's the player with most dribbles complete. And I think we can clearly see Kylian Mbappé is a better player overall than Erling Haaland. And I believe Kylian Mbappé will win more Ballon d'Ors than Erling Haaland throughout his career. Because if he goes to Real Madrid, mate, it's game over. And we can all see it so clearly. And it's the last dance. If Kylian Mbappé wins the Champions League for PSG, if Kylian Mbappé wins the Champions League for PSG, it's going to be hard to debate if he wins multiple Ballon d'Ors with Real Madrid that he's the best French player ever in the history, ahead of a Zidane, that one of the best midfielders ever and could be the best midfielder for some, and Karim Benzema, that he's won a Ballon d'Or and he's got 90 goals scored in the Champions League, 4th ever in the list. So, yeah, Mbappe is already in the top 10 goal scorers ever in the Champions League with 48 goals. Like the ceiling on him.
And that's there's no doubt Kylian Mbappe all around is the best player on the planet, right? When he's at his peak at the moment, right? And Erling Haaland for this, come on, both of us, I think, had this internal argument last year when he could not stop scoring goals for Manchester City. Whether or not, who was the best, right? Was Erling Haaland, he can do more. I was convincing myself he can do more than just score goals, which is a very key part of the game to win games. But Erling Haaland might not even be in the top 5 best player on the planet. Might not even be in the top 7, top 8. In terms of what he does all around. Right, in terms of being a complete player, but I don't know. It's contingent.
I put him top 5.
It is, but it's contingent upon Manchester City playing through him. Do you put him top 5?
I put Erling Haaland still top 5 because I do believe the goal scoring is quite unique in the world of football with what he can do. When the setup is done,
but he's so nullified. I don't know. When they play direct, 100%, but they haven't been playing as direct lately in terms of trying to actually, it just doesn't feel that way.
Big teams are playing with a low block against Erling Haaland, and they play with Gabriel and Saliba constantly against him. Erling Haaland needs to explore the space better. Erling Haaland needs to get the ball better, needs to come behind more, a bit like Harry Kane. He needs to develop more. It has to happen. And he's 23.
Yep.
I do believe that will be the case long term, but I think it's going to be a bit of an ups and downs with Erling Haaland, and with Kylian Mbappé, I think it's going to be constant. I think Kylian Mbappé would be consistently in the top 3 of the Ballon d'Or in the next 5 to 10 years. He's mad fast. He's really intelligent, and he's a top athlete. He's very similar in these traits with Cristiano Ronaldo. And if you're similar to Cristiano Ronaldo in any traits, it makes you special. So Kylian Mbappé, keep going bold and go to Real Madrid, okay? Because it's just the right decision. And Kylian Mbappé, he's beaten Real Sociedad. He's beaten now Barcelona, the rivals of Real Madrid, and he went through the group of death. So this could be the year of Kylian Mbappé winning the Ballon d'Or if he wins the Champions League, and certainly the Euro 2024.
And he's not even playing his best football right now. PSG does not go through without Vitinha. He does not go through without Warren Zaire-Emery in that game.
I do think a lot of the game was him. He was putting a lot of the focus for him. I think Ronaldo Araújo. The reasoning towards PSG managing to win this game in the second leg was the fact that Barcolo and Dembélé were given a lot of space. And the fact that they were given a lot of space was because the focus was on Kylian Mbappé. And I wanted to, if we gotta talk about it.
Was there in the first leg too.
We gotta talk about this.
Was there in the first leg too.
Ronaldo Araújo can never do what he did. He's 1.92 meters. For you American listeners, equivalent to 6'3". And look at the speed that man was going. If he doesn't know that he's gonna touch that ball 100%, he can never do what he did, and it doesn't show respect to Ter Stegen, and no belief to Ter Stegen too. I think a Real Madrid player wouldn't do that, And that shows
Well,
a lot of the character and the decision making that you have to have. And saying this,
right.
I wanted to ask you this, Breton. Keep or
Mm-hmm.
sell Barcelona. Would you sell Frankie de Jong this summer for 60 to 70 million?
Based for 60, 70 million, yes. Yeah,
And would
based
you
on where
sell
Barcelona needs to go from here.
and would you sell Ronald
Also,
Araújo for 70 to 80 million?
if someone's going to pay 70 to 80 million for him based on
Speculation,
his
Bayern
injury
Munich.
history, based on his injury history, if Bayern's coming in with 70 to 80 million, yes.
You sell both.
Yes, I would.
So
Here's
I like
here's the
it.
thing. Here's the thing. It's a consolidation around, I think, what they realize. Although I have issues with putting all your eggs in a 16, 17, 18-year-old basket
Yeah.
of the best youth academy on the planet, it seems like it's a reality that might need to come to Barcelona sooner rather than later. And I do, with how many times we've waited for Ronaldo Araujo to come back from injury, I believe that if you can get 70 to 80 million for him, that's
And you still have
definite.
Pau
You sell.
Cubarsí, Jules Condé,
Yeah.
Christensen. You have quality there. But we still
Yeah.
believe Ronald Araújo is one of the best center backs in the world and one of the players that can stop Vinicius Jr. the best way. But if it's this money being offered when Barcelona has no CDM, I'm completely with you.
Yeah. And that, it seems like they are going to go more insular, more internal moving forward. And that would 150, 140, 150 million euros for those two players. It might set you back a La Liga title the next year or two, but it gives you a whole lot more latitude moving forward to build a squad in whatever light the next manager would like to have. And I think the one thing that we saw from that Barcelona PSG game, at least for me, is that I don't have any hope that Xavi is going to extend.
Yes.
That Laporta is going to be able to convince him to extend. I always held out hope that Xavi would extend in that instance because he is the reason they're trusting the youth a whole lot more. But I do think it's probably more likely that they wind up going internal with Rafa Marquez.
I love it.
Right?
I love how you're saying that because, yes, we're FC Wonderkid and we do respect the work that Xavi did. Trusting Hector Fort, trusting Lamine Yamal, trusting Pau Cubarsí, trusting many of these players that are now being so bold. Gavi being out injured. Gavi must be like... Gavi's heart must be broken, mate. The difference that he would have done being involved and not injured for Xavi, it's just heartbreaking. But mentioning the positive side of this game, like for me as a Portuguese man, Vitinha is one of the best midfielders in the world right now in form. It's undisputed right now. This fact, okay, people, okay? Because if you see the Champions League game, Vitinha was one of the best players against Barcelona. And if for the Euros, I want Vitinha, João Palhinha, and Bruno Fernandes at least one game to play together. I love João Neves, but I want to see these three players playing one of those games. And the list of players at PSG below the age of 25 is Xavi Simons, it's Bradley Barcola, it's Gonçalo Ramos, it's Vitinha, it's Warren Zaïre-Emery, it's Nuno Mendes, and it's Ugarte. Great players. And Beraldo too.
Yeah.
And three of these players being Portuguese. Gonçalo Ramos, Vitinha, and Nuno Mendes. We're just getting started, Preston. I love to see it. I'm scared with Xavi Simons and all this. If we replace Fabian Ruiz with Xavi Simons, like, this is a team that can be much more deadlier in this instance.
But then, in the same breath, you take Kylian Mbappé away.
But I don't think
that's gonna.
It's a big factor. But I think Luis Enrique has shown to the world that he can win a Champions League with this PSG team. I
think there will be more There will be more bumps along the way. I think there will be more bumps along the way.
Let's see who are the superstars that are going to... Look, if Kylian Mbappé leaves PSG, I honestly have this feeling that Real Madrid, the PSG are going to get like a Rafael Leão, a Victor Osimhen. They're going to go extremely bold with a bang towards replacing the player. So it can be... It's a debate, but let us know down below what are your thoughts on PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, what needs to happen in these teams, and who's going to win the Ballon d'Or in this instance. But we're mentioning Ballon d'Or, we're mentioning greatness. Bayern Munich did beat Arsenal, and Xabi Alonso did win the Bundesliga, and the Bundesliga is becoming so interesting right now that we have a different winner. But I wanted to say, Bretson, on camera before you're with me here in Portugal, this is going to be a friendly bet that we're going to do here at FC Wonderkid. Bretson, you owe me a beer because if this stuff happens, okay? I think Zidane will manage a team next season. The only manager to have back-to-back Champions League titles. In fact, the only manager to win 3 in a row is Zidane. I certainly believe he's going to manage a team next season. I don't know if it's Bayern Munich. I don't know if it's Man United. But one team it will be for sure, and earning the biggest bucks possible. So that's my prediction.
I will take that bet respectfully.
Because you said Pina Colada Zidane. I
honestly, I believe Deschamps is leaving. I believe he's leaving after the Euros. I just don't think it's been announced. I believe he's going to leave, regardless of it. It's time to pass the torch, and I think that coveted spot that he's been waiting for opens up. And frankly, the challenge that faces Manchester United, the challenge that faces Bayern Munich right now. More so Bayern Munich than Manchester United. Or I'm sorry, more so Manchester United than Bayern Munich. I don't think Zidane's jumping in to necessarily do that. I think Les Bleus is where his heart probably is moving forward. So if he's going to jump in, yeah. So I'm taking that bet. For one beer, I'm going to up it. I'll up it to a 6-pack. I don't know what they sell. They sell 6-packs in Portugal,
we do.
Or whole cases.
Or a sangria if we go Portugal time.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. I'll do sangria. Yeah. No, but I hope he does get back in there. Right now, it seems like he's the the wizard behind the curtain, right? The guy that you just don't. he's doing more so rare promotions than he is interviewing for managerial positions because he doesn't need to interview, I guess.
True.
But I want him back in the game, 100%. So I'm with you, and I will happily lose that bet. But I would bet more on him going to Bayern Munich than to Manchester United.
Zidane.
100%.
Interesting. And I don't think. Look, Bayern Munich have a real problem this summer. Kimmich could be leaving.
They do.
Alphonso Davies could be leaving. Julian Nagelsmann extends with Germany and says, I'd rather be at Germany than going to the mess that is now being built at Bayern Munich. What are they going to do?
At half the price.
Right. It's even worse.
At half the price.
It's even worse, okay? So if Bayern Munich are going to keep Jamal Musiala, it's by signing the right players in the right window. And honestly, I think the Bundesliga will start... Look, I think the next 10 years in the Bundesliga, we won't have Bayern Munich winning the next 10 years. All years.
I think you're right. Yeah,
I
think you're right there. I think I'm comfortable saying that as well. But yeah, it all comes down to the Musiala contract negotiations. But it's crazy. Like Nagelsmann gets it. I think he understands if he was coming from another club and not from the German national team, think about the decisions he would have to make. Okay, I'm going to run the German national team until the Euros. And then after the Euros, I'm going to step down, and all those players that I just influenced and all those players that I just made big player personnel decisions on over the last 3-4 months, right? Plus, getting them to the Euros, through the Euros. I'm now going to have to go back to the club level. And why would you do that when Germany has already hit the rock bottom of missing out on the group stages or leaving in the group stages in 2 World Cups ago, leaving in the group stages last World Cup, and now you're looking at Musiala, you're looking at Wirtz, you're looking at a future playing in a style that he wants to play, even though they've only really been playing well over the last 2 games. We have to definitely slow our roll on that.
But France, though...
And then compare that, though, to Nagelsmann, what he would have to do at Bayern, right? And the Davies likely leaving, Musiala contract negotiations, Kimmich likely leaving. It's not an easy spot to be put in. And the only good thing about that potentially is if he were to go back to Bayern, they've already cleared out all the guys that he had an issue with previously, right? But he's staying at. It's done. It's dusted. They have to look in a different direction, which is why I think those Zidane rumors have been coming out. But I think it's more likely Hansi Flick returns than I don't
Hansi
know
Flick
anything
returning
else.
to Bayern Munich means the champion. No. Hansi Flick returning to Bayern Munich would mean that Xabi Alonso with Leverkusen would win the double in the league. Two times in a row, in my view. I'm going to say that before seeing another transfer window right now. Xabi Alonso
Yeah.
this season has 38 wins, 6 draws, 0 losses in 44 games. The proof of quality is there. He's going to be a European treble winner, in my opinion. Okay, I think he's going to win the DFB Pokal. I think he's going to win the Europa League against Roma. And he's won the Bundesliga in great fashion with 5 fixtures still to go. And we saw Xabi Alonso rumoredly... we saw Xabi Alonso being in the rumors to go to Bayern Munich and to Liverpool. But now... the rumors are different. The rumors are for next season, knowing he's going to stay at Leverkusen, saying that he might go to City to replace Guardiola or to Real Madrid to replace Carlo Ancelotti. And for me, Ancelotti and Guardiola are the 2 best players in the world, not counting this amazing season of Xabi Alonso. So this would mean Xabi Alonso is a top 3 manager in the world if he goes to Man City or to Real Madrid following this next season.
Yeah. Well,
Wow. I got you. Nice.
You've said a lot in that in terms of them doing the treble. Daniel De Rossi and Roma are on a tear right now.
Last 17
I think
games,
if they were
only 2 losses.
I know if they were meeting Marseille or Atalanta, I think they'd be better off. But they are meeting a very, very tough team right now. That, like I said, Roma is playing at a different level under De Rossi right now because they just, I don't know, they're lapping up his intensity. They're lapping up his excitement. And the only way Leverkusen are going to, they have to really, really play to the best of their ability, which, Alex, they have not in this Europa League. In these knockout rounds, Bayer Leverkusen has not been as convincing as they have been in the Bundesliga.
Have they lost?
Okay. No, you're right. They have not lost. But my goodness, have they relied on last-second goals to tie things up, to make things... This is against Karabakh. This is against, what is it, Sparta Prague or Slavia Prague? One of the two.
Yes.
Right? These are clubs that they should be manhandling, beating, even with rotated squads. And they haven't been. And they're going to come up against an AS Roma team that, frankly... Stefano Pioli, if he had a chance to stay at AC Milan previously, they just got him fired easily, right? And they made Christian Pulisic, they made Rafa Leao, they made a lot of these guys look blunted, like they couldn't make an impact. And that really is hard for me to say, as much as we've been enjoying a lot of what AC Milan has done this season. Roma was the better team, both legs, both legs. So they have a tough way. So that's the only thing. They're going to win the DFB Pokal. So definitely a double for Xabi Alonso. I don't think it takes away if they don't win the Europa League. But it would, because I know you want it so bad.
It will,
that invincible. That invincible. You think so?
I love AS Roma with Daniel De Rossi. As I said, 2 losses in 17 games. Immediate impact replacing Jose Mourinho. He's got the trust of the best players with Pellegrini, Dybala, Gianluca Mancini, and Lukaku. But I still think Xabi Alonso, the way that even after the game, Xabi Alonso knows his opponent and his assistant staff celebrated. Why? It's not because he doesn't know how good Roma is. It's because the group wants revenge. I really believe, like, last semifinals in the Europa League, they lost to Roma. And now's the time to see a different result. And it's just poetic. Everything is happening the right way for this Xabi Alonso remontada in the second season. And Jeremy Frimpong, I want to give a shout out to him because the 89th goal against West Ham symbolizes how resilient this Leverkusen collective is with Xabi Alonso. 13 goals scored, 11 assists, Jeremy Frimpong, one of the best right backs in the world, unanimously, and he's got a 40 million release clause, and it's mad for me if he doesn't leave. He's one of the most desired players in this transfer market, and look, go to City, go home, as we mentioned in previous podcasts. And he was the man of the match against West Ham too. But big credit to West Ham for the first half against Xabi Alonso. And this is where I get the feeling that Xabi Alonso is special. His halftime talks must be elite because every second half, Leverkusen just react in a very different way, mental-wise, off-ball-wise. It's just beautiful to see. And if you haven't watched Bayer Leverkusen this season, any of our listeners, please go watch the tape. Watch 90 minutes of this team. Watch a game against Bayern Munich. Watch a game against Leipzig. Watch games in which Xabi Alonso and this team were tested towards becoming greater selves. Or even the game that they won 5-0 against Werder Bremen shows the greatness of Xabi Alonso and Florian Wirtz. Scored his first hat-trick this season. So and did you see that, Breton? 150 million for Florian Wirtz to leave Bayer Leverkusen. And only one team would pay that. Only one team would pay that. It's Man City to replace Kevin De Bruyne. And is there a better Kevin De Bruyne replacement than Florian Wirtz in the transfer market? I don't think there is. Lucas Paquetá, we love you. He's cheaper, but he's not Florian Wirtz. Genius.
Yeah, well, I listen, we've got 4 continental between the Champions League and the Europa League. You've got Dortmund, PSG. You've got Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. You've got Marseille, Atalanta. And you've got AS Roma versus Bayer Leverkusen. Ask me which one I'm most excited about.
Roma Leverkusen.
It's AS Roma, Bayer Leverkusen. Absolutely. 100%.
I like the Bayern Real, though. Thomas Tuchel.
I mean,
could he win the second?
I like it too, but it feels a different Bayern, even though it was a Bayern good enough to get by Arsenal. It just feels different. Roma, Bayer Leverkusen feels like a giant in the making. And if they can get the business decisions right over the next year, the off scenes, the behind the scenes decisions right over the next few years, I don't think we're going to see Leverkusen win 10 years in a row. But I would usher in, hopefully, a
RB
more
Leipzig.
competitive Bundesliga. Who knows? Maybe this is a turning point for the Bundesliga as a whole.
Yeah.
There's no doubt it's a hell of a place to go for the development of a player.
True.
And for, lesser, maybe.
Well,
there's still a
Union
lot
Berlin does develop many players. RB Leipzig developed many players. Hoffenheim developed many players. And in the past, look at the players that went through Hamburg, that went through Schalke, like Rakitic.
Yeah.
Who made Rakitic be the player that he is? Neuer be the player that he is? Schalke. So I have a lot of respect towards the German league because our football, the football that we see, the greatness that we see, has a big German influence. Shout out to Toni Kroos.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
talking about future influence, we wanted to mention here at the end of this podcast the UEFA Youth League. We know who are the finalists. I got sad, obviously, because I wanted Porto not just to go to the final. I wanted Porto to win the UEFA Youth League. But the AC Milan team is a very special AC Milan team in the Youth League that certainly we're going to see players in the first team in the next 2 seasons of this Rossoneri. Giancarlo Simic, motivational speech that please go watch on X. See Francesco Camarda, the young boy that can't stop scoring goals. And then we had Filippo Scotti, a winger, a needed winger for this Azzurri and Rossoneri future, okay? 17 years old and the best player on the pitch against Porto, in my point of view.
Absolutely. Yeah, and probably for them in all the knockout rounds of the Youth League. But you gotta give a little love to Olympiacos, not just the Youth League team. It's got to be their first Youth League final, right? I'd imagine.
I think it is.
But on top of that, Olympiacos is in the Conference League semifinal, matched up with Aston Villa in the semifinal. So Olympiacos, obviously known as one of the giants of Greek football, they're doing it on the backs of 2 goalkeepers, one of which is doing it for the senior team, Konstantinos Soulakis, who I mentioned earlier on, who had 3 penalty saves and a great first leg against, I believe it was Fenerbahce, for them to move forward, only 21. And then you have the goalkeeper for Olympiacos' youth league team. I think it's Sina is his last name, but only 20 years old. He's also been a standout for them on the way, and frankly, he's going to be incredibly busy. I think his name is Angelo Sina, incredibly busy against AC Milan. So if Olympiacos is going to beat AC Milan in the UEFA Youth League final, it's going to be because of this man, Angelo Sina. Otherwise, it seems like AC Milan's a little too powerful for them, but we'll see. We'll see.
I think AC Milan's going to win it, but this Olympiacos
Yeah, I
team
think they're
is
right.
definitely one to watch. A bit like Ajax Plicht that had Vuskovic that then Spurs bought and is having a good season. And you mentioned Olympiacos, they're doing a phenomenal season being in the semi-final of the Conference League. Shout out to the Portuguese players playing at Olympiacos. Daniel Podence,
True.
Gelson Martins, Chiquinho, André Horta,
Yeah.
João Carvalho, Ruben Vez. Come on, Olympiacos. I love to see the core that you're building of Portuguese players. You've had José Sá in the past. I remember many managers that were at Olympiacos too. So come on, win the European Conference League with this Portuguese core. I'm for them.
Yeah, I
I'm for them.
didn't even put that together, but you're absolutely right. Chiquinho scored a hell of a goal, if I'm not mistaken.
We should get UEFA points for that. Come on. We should get some points
Yeah, what
with
the
that.
heck?
Come on. But yes,
well,
people.
I could. Yeah.
But yes, people, here 1 hour and 5 minutes in this podcast. If you're listening until now, thank you so much for supporting us. Don't forget to like this video and comment down below. What did we miss and what do you disagree with us? We will answer and we will have a healthy discussion with you guys. Also, let us know what you want to see in future pods. And yes, don't forget to go bold this following week. And thank you for going bold with us and listening to another podcast, episode 153.